All right, we're looking at class review examples. So we're setting these up in class. You are then going to use your little calculators and solve them. Now, if you take a minute and read the directions, the first part goes back to surface area. If necessary, round to the nearest tenth. Also, for cylinders, cones, and spheres, anything that has pi, we're going to express our answer in terms of pi and to the nearest tenth. Now, I think surface area is a little bit harder. All right, here we are on number 1. What kind of figure is this? This is a triangular prism. Agreed? Okay, so we have to think about all the sides we have. If you look at your formula sheet, we don't have a specific formula for triangular prisms. It's the idea to find the surface area, find all the faces and sides of the figure, and then add them together. Okay, so the triangle, we have 2 triangles. So area of triangle, we have 2 of them. Now the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base. Okay, now look at your triangle, find it. I guess we could look at the top part of the bottom part. And the idea that if this is 12, this is 12 down here. If that's 16, this is 16. I don't need the 20. So it's 1/2 of the base 12 times the base 16. That is the area of the bottom. And I have 2 of them, so area of top and bottom. Okay, now let's do area of left rectangle. Over here, this is 12. What's the height of this rectangle? The height is also 12, yep. So if we look at this rectangle over here, it is 12 by 12. Doesn't look like it's drawn to scale, does it? So that left rectangle is 12 by 12, so we'll find that area. And then we need to find the area of the right rectangle. Okay, so what is that? Yep, right here. See it? That is 16 by 12. And we have one more piece to find. What is it? I'm going to call it the front rectangle. What is the front rectangle? Yeah, 20 by 12. So it's right here. Now, if you think something like highlighters or different colored pencils would help you to look at these shapes, you're welcome to. That is 20 by 12. So you're going to then find each of these areas and then add them up. Now, I know you want to ignore me and do that, but we're going to move on. That way you have some time to work. Look at number 2. What is this figure? Square pyramid. Here is your square base. Now, we are not finding volume. We are finding surface area. If I was finding volume, I'd want the height of the figure as an altitude. I want the lateral height. I want this height of the side because I want to know what it would be to paint this triangle. I'm not worried about the inside. Now, with it being a square pyramid, that means all 4 triangles are the same. So the area of the base is 8 by 8. It's a square. The area of the triangles, I have 4 of them. Okay, now, if this was a rectangular, I'd have 2 on this side and 2 on this, but I have 4, and the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base. Can you picture the triangle here? What's the base of my triangle? 8 times the height, which I want on the side, which is 9.8. That's it. That's all you're doing there. You've got 1 square base. You've got 4 congruent triangles because all the bases are 8 and they have the same height. Okay, now if we move on to number 3, what is number 3? Well, it's a rectangular prism, right? Okay, so I'm putting surface area here. We could break this all down and look at it, but we do have a formula. Here's your length, your width, and your height. This 18 is the width, this 18 is the same as the length. And you do have a formula if you go to your formula sheet. We wrote it down. 2 of these, that's front and back, or top and bottom, sorry. Here's your front and back, and here's your sides. So let's write that down. We'd have 2LW plus 2LH plus 2HW. Now, I actually have the word SA here because once I plugged this in, I found surface area. I want to go back up real quick to number 1 and 2. Notice I have A's on all these. That's just because that's the area of each side. Your final answer will be the surface area. So let me put a little SA here, and you can circle that. Same thing here. The reason I have area on all these is because I was giving just the area of each part. When we put it together, that is considered the surface area. All right, I think the best thing to do on number problems like this, where it's rectangular prism, is write out your formula, fill in the L, W, and H so you know what you're using, and then all you're going to do is plop it in there. All right, number 4 is a cylinder. And then we're finding surface area. So when we're looking at our cylinder, I want the radius, which is 7. Okay, we have a formula for the surface area of a cylinder. We wrote it in our formula sheet, but we do need to be careful with it. When you look at a cylinder, how many circles do you have? So the area of the circle, we have 2 of them, and the area of a circle is simply pi r squared. But pi r squared is the area of my circle. I have 2 of them. Now, I need to find the area of the thing that wraps around it. Do you remember what it is that wraps around your cylinder? It is a rectangle. So if you can imagine that, I'm going to say area of the rectangle. The area of the rectangle, that one's a little bit different. If you unpeel this and you unfold it, wouldn't this wrap the whole way around the circle? So you have to take the perimeter, which is 2 pi r times the height. That's basically you finding this rectangle. The 2 pi r is the top of it, what would wrap around, and h is the height of that rectangle. All right, so let's fill that in. That'd be 2 times pi with the radius of 7. And what is the height of the cylinder? 4. All right, so add that together, you'll get your surface area. Now remember, when you do this, put it in the calculator without pi. Pi will be in your answer, and then type it in with pi here. What are you labeling all of these? Units what? Units squared, okay? All right, flip it over. Still in surface area. I know it can be easy to sort of flip-flop what you're doing. So still in surface area. We have a formula for a sphere. We want to use that. The formula for surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So surface area is 4 pi r squared. Okay, so that's all I have to do. What's the radius of this? The radius is 16. You need to be careful that you don't just put in what you have. R is 16. Okay, so same thing. Type it in your calculator without pi. And keep the pi attached, and then type it in with pi. All right, next one is a what? Next one is a cone. All right, first of all, we know we're going to use radius. So what is the radius? 12. Okay. We do have a formula for surface area of a cone because it's not a regular shape. There are different formulas. The one we used was pi r s. That gives me that wraparound shape, and then pi r squared is the area of the circle flap, if you will. So I'm going to write that down. Surface area equals pi r s. Now, S stands for the slant height. This is S right here. Sometimes you'll see it as an L. Plus pi r squared. So I don't have to use Pythagorean theorem. I didn't want the height. I want that slant height. So plug it in. Pi times the radius of 12 times the slant height of 26.8 plus pi times, what is it? 12 squared. All right, let's do this one together real quick. Type in everything but pi. We have 2 parts here. 12 times 26.8. All right, so right here is 321.6 pi. So I have that piece. And then 12 squared, that's 144. Keep the pi. So I want to show you this. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to add the 321.6 plus 144. They are like terms, and I get 465.6. Keep the pi, just like if we were keeping x. So here is your pi, 465.6 pi, and what will we label it? Centimeters squared. And then I'm just going to keep that, and I'm going to hit times pi in my calculator. So it already has the answer, and that is my new answer. 1462, it said nearest tenth, so 0.7 centimeters squared. So I wanted to give you a quick reminder of how to keep pi in it. Okay, next we jump to volume. This should be pretty fresh in your mind. If you flip over your formula sheet, you do have the formulas for volume. When you look at a prism, volume equals area of base times height of figure. All right, so this is a triangular, and you can see it's really the same as number one. It is a triangular prism, but now I'm finding the volume. So the volume would be the area of the base, which is a triangle. And so this was our 12 by 16. Okay, why am I not using the 20? Because 20 is a hypotenuse. I need the base and the height. The base could be any part of it, but the height has to be a 90-degree angle to the other corner. So this would be 1/2 times 12 times 16. Maybe use x's so they don't look like dots. So half the base times height of the triangle times the height of the figure. This is your capital H, which is 12. Now when I go to find volume, what would my label be? Yep, it would be kilometers cubed, units cubed. Okay, now this is a pyramid. The big difference between a pyramid and a prism is that you get a third of the volume. So the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 the base times height. So we're essentially doing the same thing. We're really finding the volume if we box this in and then taking a third of it. That's how much it would fill up. So 1/3, this is a triangular prism. So area of a triangle, and then the height has to be 90 degrees coming down. The altitude is 13. All right, my triangle is 1/2. I'm going to use 8 yards as my base, and I'm going to use the 15 as my height. It doesn't matter which way I flip-flop these, as long as it's off the 90 degrees. Again, I don't want the lateral or slant height. I want the altitude. All right, so that is going to be your volume. All right, let's set up a couple more here. Find the volume of this rectangular prism. Well, volume equals base times height. Isn't that the same as length times width times height? Because length times width would be the area of the base. So length, width, and height. So that'd be 18 for the length, 18 for the width, and 3 for the height. All right, now what's my next shape? You know, I was thinking square at first, but look at the sides. It's not square. It is a rectangular, but that's not a big deal. It's going to be the same idea. Volume equals, but this is going to be 1/3 base times height. So it's going to be 1/3, and the base is a rectangle, which is 12 by 11, and the height is 13. Again, I want that altitude, not the lateral or slant height. All right, so I'm putting these all together for you. I mean, we're pretty much getting to the end here, and then you're going to have your own review to do. That's why we're reviewing all these formulas. Okay, we want to use our formula. Our formula for a sphere is 4/3 pi r to the third, and I feel like that's where we might mess up. Now, what is the radius of this? 16. So it's 4/3 pi times 16 to the third. So again, put it in without pi, keep the pi attached, and then type in the whole thing nearest tenth. All right, we have now a cylinder. The volume of a cylinder is back to base times height. What's the base of a cylinder? A circle, right? So the area of the circle is pi times the radius, which is 7 squared. And what's the height of the cylinder? 4. There you go. Radius is 7. And last, our cone. A cone is very much like a pyramid. The volume is 1/3 base times height. So it's 1/3, but the base is a circle. So pi radius 12 squared. Now, here's the problem. I have the slant height. I need the altitude. So this one is an issue. All right, so the radius was 12. Drop a perpendicular line with a 90-degree angle, and that means I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem, right? I need this number. That's what I'm looking for. So I would have the height squared, I'll call this h. H squared plus 12 squared equals 26.8 squared. Okay, so take a minute. You're going to solve this for h, and whatever you get for h, you're going to plop it in there to solve this problem. There is a formula to use the slant height, but we are not using that because it's just one extra thing to remember. So I'm taking 144 away from this. In the end, I get h squared once I do the math. Take this squared minus 144. I got h squared was 574.24. So it's not pretty. My height is 23. I'm going to keep the 0.96. If this is telling me to round to the nearest tenth at the end, I want to keep at least 100. So my height is 23.96. That's what's going to go right here. So this is not going to be an exact answer because we're taking a third of something. But go ahead, type this in without pi, plop it here, and put pi in the calculator to do your final answer.